Hi everybody, come on in. Do you have a Nobile Dendrobium? Because if you don't, you might like to get one, and I'm going to explain why. Now, I had two, but last winter we had the coldest winter on record. We have covered our greenhouse with 3 layers of plastic, center one bubble wrap every winter, heated it so it stayed 60 degrees. Excuse me. Never ever had any trouble since 2011 when the greenhouse went up with freezing plants, but last winter everything froze and lots of people had that trouble, and I'm afraid one dendrobium I lost because it froze. This one was hardier. They can take cold. They can take close to freezing, but I don't like to go below 40. But we'll talk more about that in a minute. So what I want to do with this Nobile is, it has some Keikis here. And I want to take them off and repot them. I don't want them to be draining the plant anymore. Now this dendrobium, last winter after that cold, because like Phalaenopsis, they like a cold, drier winter, and that sets them to bud for your flowers. And it definitely got that because the other one died. But this last winter, I'll put a link to the video of so you can look at it. It was just beautiful. And it was in flower for at least 2 months. And when the flowers come, you don't want to keep it too warm. You want to keep it in the cooler part, not even direct winter sun in a west window or something, which I keep a lot of my orchids in. But not when they're in flower, because it will mean you don't keep your flowers as long. So I do have these Keikis I want to remove. And what I also want to do is, after we get them off, I want to show you a real close-up of what's new and how this works. But the Nobile, if you're wondering, there's 2 kinds of dendrobiums. There's a Phalaenopsis dendrobium, and the leaves, they're not soft like these. They're harder, more like a Phalaenopsis, where these are very flexible, and the color is looking really good. If it was too dark green, it would mean it didn't get enough light. And the Dendrobium nobile, I have found that it likes a lot of light. Now, I don't put it in direct sun so it gets burnt, but it's been in the patio outside. I put it out with all the orchids, probably it was early June. And it can stay out there until 40 degrees. Let it get that cold temperature. If you have a dendrobium and you don't know where to put it to keep that cool temperature, it can be by an open window. So that at night it's dropping at least 15, 20 degrees to help tell the plant to flower. Because I put mine out in the patio and it will stay out there till late fall. Then I put it in the greenhouse usually, and it is cooler temperatures out there, but they still like some light. Don't put them in the dark. But they, over the winter, they're deciduous and they will drop some leaves. And they do still like the light, but not any water. I do not water mine in the winter unless I see that the canes are looking really shriveled. They like a fair amount of moisture, and so do we. We haven't had any. It's been a very dry year, no rain since April. We had a couple 10-minute showers in the last week or so. That is it. Like, it started to rain, it was so beautiful, but it just didn't last. So It did go drier than it probably should have, and hotter, because the patio is always over 100 because it's all glass. But we have a shade cloth across the top, so the orchids are always in the back. So the Phalaenopsis were out there, but this one is still out there. I brought in today. The phals I brought in when the smoke was real bad, but I leave this and the Cymbidium. They can go outside, stay outside, still need light, but they can take a lot colder. So that's what we're going to do. And there's a few things I want to say too. Somebody did ask, do I have fruit flies? Well, I haven't been doing as much canning this year because my tomatoes just got too hot. I should have shaded them. But I have lots from last year, so I haven't been, but I've always got pears or tomatoes or bananas or something sitting around in the kitchen. Not right near my orchids because they do produce ethylene gas, and ethylene gas, if you have orchids in flower, that's when I'm more careful about having fruit sitting around, or even onions. Then your flowers are not going to last as long. So I'm a little more careful when all my orchids are in bloom, but this time of the year, not so much. So what do I do? I'll show you. I have a bunch of these, but this year I haven't had as many, but you should see some in here. And then they die, and this is just natural apple cider vinegar. Sometimes I'll put a bit of red wine, but I haven't done that lately. This is just natural apple cider vinegar, and it's those hornet, I think they call them bee traps, but it works great for fruit flies. There's a hole here and a lid, so I tip it, I pour my apple cider vinegar in, and I leave it on the counter because there's little knobs under here so that the little rascals can get in. And it may not look so pretty, but it sits on my counter and it does a good job. And it solves our problem. So, because if you sit with a glass of wine or something like that, they'll be there bothering you because they love that smell. That's why they go for the apple cider vinegar. And if you find it's not working good enough, you can stick a banana peel in there or something like that. So I did want to mention that. And what we're going to do is there's a few other things I want to show you. A nice flower coming out. And I moved all my orchids. I have all the traffic cones in one window. The glass one's all in a certain spot. I moved everything around. I'm going to show you that and how things are working. But first, I'm going to bring the camera in with a close-up so you can get a really good look at what I'm doing, okay? Okay, let's get in here. Okay. There we are. So what we have here is 2 Keikis. Now this cage I got at the Dollar Tree. It's 2 that I joined together with some orchid ties that come when you buy orchids. I keep everything. So, and I just bent them a little bit and put 2 together. And I think there was 2 in a package for $1 something. They were cheap. So, and I did make these because I find with a dendrobium it stops them. Mine were starting to hang over and it just keeps them so much tidier. So what I want to do is take these off and repot them. So what you do is you give this a little twist. And you don't want to hurt those roots. They're very fragile. Let's see, I'm just seeing what way it wanted to go, but I think it would like to go clockwise. They're tricky, you have to kind of, the roots are quite long and they're quite fragile. I don't want to take it out of the pot. Okay. Let's take this little tie off here. Take that off. There. Now, we'll get it moved over more. There's the roots for that one. And we're going to twist. Oh, it's on top. Let's go back this way. I could go right around. Oop. One of them has a little break in it. Okay. Let me get a little knife. A little knife before I twist it a little too hard. There we go. Okay. We pretty well know where it's coming off now. It's snug. It's snug. There we go. So we got one off. And there's where it was attached. So the roots are quite long and they are very fragile. The color is looking really good. And here I have a little container and I put a little bit of seaweed extract in here. And I'm going to put them in there. To get a little wetter, little rascal. That's not long enough. Excuse me. I got to get something longer. There we go. Okay. That should work better. Put that in like that. Because what I want them to soak a little bit, that's just how long those roots are. I want them to soak a little bit before I put them in the bark. So they're a little more fragile, not so breakable. Okay, so this one is going to sit there. Now, let's try this other one. Now, some of these are very old, like this. This will get trimmed off, and this should all get peeled back, because what happens is debris, bugs, anything can build up in here. Now, this is where it flowered. It flowered almost everywhere it could flower. It flowered last year. Okay, now we're going to try and get this one off. That little root's hanging up back here. Whoops, that one I bent, but it'll be fine. You know, it's very hard on it, so I think I'm just going to go back in here with a knife again. It didn't really do any damage. And reminds me of Maggie. We took her to the park and she hurt her little, right here on her, just where her paw is, and she would to her mom, you know. And now she's something she doesn't want to do. She's so smart, she is. She'll hold that paw up and go, because she knows she got babied. She'll hold that little paw up still if there's something she doesn't want to do. And it works for me, but it doesn't work too good for Jack. And she knows it. She knows. Okay, we got it off. There we go. This one, did I break a leaf? Oh, I broke it off. I did. Oh no, look what I did. I wasn't supposed to do that. Look. Well, we'll see how it does. We'll put it in the water. Bad girl. That wasn't supposed to happen. Okay, so we got two. We're going to put them in here. And then I have these nice little snap-on pliers. So when I'm cleaning them up, and I'm not going to do the whole thing now, even with my fowls, I always take this off. And these little pliers are really good for grabbing on to this old part of the cane. So once you get it. So I'll be cleaning all this dry white off. And I'm going to, all here, if you can see this is old flowers. This is where it bloomed. And down here, these are all new shoots. They're still growing. They'll be growing until they send up their final leaf, and when the final leaf usually sticks straight up, and then there's a hard little nubbin that kind of is at the bottom, and then you say, oh, that is the last leaf. But this one's still got one more coming. So I've got 1, 2, and this is a new Good morning, everybody. Come on in. Yes, it's morning. I was halfway through the video and the day changed so quick. My video was only half there when I went to put it up yesterday. I started the video. I had the part to where I was taking the baby Keikis off of the mummy, and after that there was nothing there. It was supposed to show the tour and repotting the orchid. So last night I put them, they were all potted in this pot, and this morning when I looked at them and I looked at the video last night, there was nothing to, half the video was gone, so I dumped the bark back out, and I noticed that when I looked at it, that it really didn't fit in this pot. The roots were all sticking out the holes in this pot, and even with the root, the roots take up the whole distance from the top to the bottom, and they're too crisp. I can't bend them or anything. So we're off to a new start and a new day. It's 9 o'clock and it was cold last night. It went to under 40 degrees. It says 40 now. That's why I know it was under 40. I don't know what it went to, but it's been getting cold at night. But the sky is still blue, and we're supposed to have the week ahead like in the 90s. So we don't know. We don't know. I mean, it's beautiful weather right now. I just love this fall weather. It's beautiful fall weather. But we need rain because we're going to be walking from one side of the lake to the other pretty soon. Anyway, enough of that. So, you remember I had this hourglass-shaped vase, and it didn't fit all the roots in the orchid I had. Well, I looked at the roots on these, and I thought, you know, I might as well make use of this. So I didn't have enough bark that I'd soaked for the whole, to take up the whole vase. So what I've done is I put in a little bit of dry bark, and I might be able to dump a little bit of that out. There. And there was some damp left from when I tried to pot it. I hadn't taken it out. So I got the poor baby that I broke the top off. And then I have this one. And actually, I'll be able to keep a good watch on them because they have been growing off the mother plant. And the roots have actually been aerial roots. They haven't been in anything. They haven't been in bark, soil, water. They've just been there while the mother's been feeding this plant. So we're going to carefully put them in here. We have to do them. At least they seem to fit this pot better. And this one's a little smaller. So what I want to do is we'll put them in like that, and I'll kind of hold my fingers and keep them a little separated, and I'll just let the bark fall in rather than, we don't want to injure the root, so we'll just let the bark fall in where it wants to fall to surround the little root. Okay, get them upright a bit. It seems a big pot for 2 babies, but it might be okay. We'll watch them, we'll see how they get started, because they're used to being on the mom. Now this one, getting held there now. So far I still got damp. I'll probably be misting them a lot for a while, because some of this bark is dry down there, and because they're used to being fed by the mother. So we're going to put some this way. Pour one. I think the one that I broke off, I think it has a really good root system, and I think it'll be strong enough to send out some new shoots, because I really want to keep them, because I lost a plant. So I didn't want to bend them, because they sure didn't want to bend. I didn't want to be in worse trouble than I was. Actually, now I seem to have just the right amount of bark. We'll go around. One of the little roots from the broken one is here. The other ones are all hid, so unless they grow and come out to the light, then we won't know. Now, there's a little bit of the water I soaked from the seaweed extract in the bottom of this pot, because the other pot that I put them in that you missed was in this pot, but I just couldn't see it working. If the roots want to grow anymore, or it just seemed there were a whole bunch of them sticking out all these holes, and I know they were aerial roots, but I've decided to go with this root. Some people plant them in moss now, but I never use moss, so they're going in bark, because that's what I use and that's what the mother was in. So there. So mommy and baby, but mommy's going back outside because she needs to get to these drops in temperatures, which we're getting right now, 40. The patio is about usually 10 degrees warmer than what it is outside. So the thermometer outside says 40. It's probably more like 48 or so last night on this patio, because it's enclosed. So the mother will be going back out as long as she doesn't get near freezing again. I leave her out there as long as I can, and normally it's usually around Halloween that I'm thinking of bringing them in, that the first frost, frost on the pumpkin, the first frosts are coming, and they're ready to put the cymbidium and the dendrobium in the greenhouse. So I'll be setting up the greenhouse soon for fall, and we're going to heat just a small back corner, because I'm going to just insulate it on the inside rather than do all the work on the outside, because we're getting smarter that way. I have a real neat outside project coming when we get everything lined up. and I'm going to take you for a tour and show you a phalaenopsis that's blooming and one that's almost blooming and a few other little things. And my new arrangement that watering day took so much longer because I organized them into separate areas. So let's go have a look at that. Okay, make sure I don't turn it off, which I could have done. I don't know what I did. Okay. So I did clean up the mother plant a bit, except for the ones that were really dry and hard to get. Excuse me, tickle. So there we are with lots of new growth coming. So first let's go over to this window. Now I didn't have a mister in my fish, and I love this fish. It does throw a nice mist because we're still so dry here. So I got this one from Georgia on the coast, and this one got going without me having to order a new one. Thank you very much again. So in here I have my older, and this is the sewer pipe, 3 outlet, and Jack had done the paint job, the Monet paint job, and these babies have been in here a long time. A couple of them suffered but are now coming back. I think that fertilizer has given them, I think it's been a good thing, my water schedule and my fertilizer schedule. They've survived this heat. It's amazing. Amazing. Heat and dryness. Just dry within a day, and not watering every day, just watering twice a day. So this is what I've done in this corner. And then over here I have my spider plant, and I have the door open on the terrarium. And things seem to be doing good. We have a new leaf coming here, and up over there, there's good growth. And this one wasn't looking too good, but I think it's okay. And we have a nice spike coming on Tying Shing Blue. We have a nice spike. So I've got her in the north window. And I got this mister back working. I think this is where I put my other mister. So yes, it was. So this one also got one that Georgia sent me, 2 nice misters. So I was luckily able to get that working. And up here I just have this. I've had it for a long time. Picked it up at a garage sale, that little mister. And Alphinia, I think she's finished blooming. So that's what I got in the north window. The Hoya's doing good. That, of course, was a tomato cage, and I've just been wrapping it around. Can't even tell it was a tomato cage anymore. There's lots of growth. But here, this fell, which has many leaves, many roots, lots of roots going down. I miss them sometimes. When I remember, I miss them. But I let them be what they are. And this is the last leaf showing good growth and a new leaf coming. And in amongst all this heat, when I had left this spike, it decided to flower. It has another one over here. And more coming. So I don't normally leave a spike on my orchids. I like all the energy to go to making the plant stronger. But the ones here in the traffic cone, I did leave some spikes for curiosity. So I'll even be more curious to see come flowering time how the new growth is with that spike on and how my new spikes will be, because this is from this spring, this spike that was left. And over here I left a spike, but nothing came on this one. It's got a nice new leaf. And I also left one here, and there's very good leaf growth coming, and a spike from last spring. These ones, because they seem so healthy, I did leave them to enjoy their spikes. See what happens. Learn. And same with this traffic cone. The ones in the traffic cones, there's a rubbery traffic cone. They're not that hard plastic. And it's thick, and they, even with all the air holes, they, I think, stay moisture in there, which we need in this dry climate. So this is the traffic cone window. So when I redid everything, I thought, well, the traffic cones will fit good in this big window. And I thought, well, I'm going to put all the traffic cones in one spot. So that's what I did. And then I'll show you where the glass ones are. Maggie's at her window. The sky is blue. Here we are. Very slight hazy smoke today, not very much. So I have all the glass vases. I'm in the midst of hunting up the dates and trying to learn to date everything. Everybody should do that. And here's my amazing orchid I got on April 10th. It came in bark, the only orchid I was able ever to get in bark. And it was repotted twice, and it still is showing no signs of limp flowers or losing in flower. In fact, there's little bits of growth happening there and there. So it's very amazing because I got it in full bloom April 10th. Had to be in bloom for at least a month or two before that. So pretty amazing. And a nice new leaf and good growth. As you can see, the roots. So these are the new ones. They're just getting acclimatized. This is the perfect pot, the one I just finished repotting. And I have, that was from the twins in the two pots, and the other twin is over here in a pot. So, and they still have their spikes. And in the back, I looked up the date, and it was November, last November, that this orchid was put in this glass pot, which it's loving. It's a smaller pot. It's just full of roots. And I do not see any algae as yet. I did see one piece of bark that looked a little green, but no algae as such as yet. So it isn't more in the back in the shade away from this window, because this is the west. It's going to be hot because the flowers do stay longer if you keep them out of the direct sun. And the basket is growing really good, considering these were all ones I thought were dying years ago and put together. They're doing really well. This one was looking terrible. Now it has just, yes, very pleased with that. And the Oncidium After Dark Baker's Burgundy Smile seems to be doing good. I hope I get flowers. There was some little droplets of stuff, and I wiped it off. It was sticky. So it did have some of that on it, but other than that, it seems to be doing good. So this is where I have my other plants, and this one got moved way to the back because its leaves were getting like this. And Jack said, we should move it back. And since then, the leaves are all really nice. It was just too much in the direct sun. I think there's some that got that way, but It's definitely doing good. So this is what I've done, and I have my misters going. Going to be a hot, dry weekend, and I'll just show you outside before I go. Hey Maggie, how's Maggie? Huh? Yes, you got kisses for everybody. That's nice. So here is our dryness. Now this place across the street, they've been watering. We're not supposed to be sprinkling, but some people seem to do it. That's all I'm going to say. There we go. Okay, goodbye for now. Have a wonderful day.